complex conflict. Complex because there are external players who now know or believe and have the strong conviction that a disorderly Congo is good. Because if you have conflict, and it's estimated that there are over 120 armed groups in eastern Congo only, that tells you how complex it is. And these armed groups are financing their activities through illegal mining. It also must be understood that Congo, like most African countries, are victims of the arbitrary boundaries that were created in Berlin. People never remember this as often as they should. But the conference that was held in Berlin in 1884 and 1885 was actually known as the Congo Conference. It was at the behest of King Leopold of the Belgians to deal with the question of Congo, and that is how the partition then came about, in order to give people spheres of influence so that the European powers would not fight one another as they extracted things from the Congolese people. Now, why do I say it is complex? And why do I say that the boundaries are also part of the problem? Because of the arbitrariness with which the boundaries were drawn, you now find different ethnicities across borders. Take, for example, Rwanda and Burundi, what was known as Rwanda and Burundi. You find people who were described as Tutsis and Hutus. And you find also a large population of the Tutsis, sometimes referred to as the Banyamulenge, who are in Congo, so that they are Congolese. They are not Rwandese on the basis of the boundaries that we have. Nyerere, the former president of Tanzania, actually during the early days in 1970, when he was asked to mediate, said, when we talk about the Tutsi in Congo, they are not Rwandese, they are Congolese, according to the boundaries that we inherited. And for that reason, it is incumbent upon the governments and administrations in Congo to treat them as Congolese. The fact that they have their kith and kin in Burundi and in Rwanda does not make them Rwandese or Burundians. And he made this example, he gave this example. For example, the Maasai in Kenya and the Maasai in Tanzania, they are Maasais, but they are those who, by dint of the boundaries, are now Kenyans and others Tanzanians. And that is yet another conflict. It is a conflict which has given birth to what is now known as the M23. The M23 are people of Tutsi origin who are Congolese. But they are now being told, no, you are not Congolese, you are Rwandese, and that is why you see the frequent accusations that the Rwandese government is supporting them, and the frequent denials by the Rwandese administration that they are not supporting them. The other conflict that has emerged in Congo is that Congo has become what one may say a rare ground for fighting groups from Uganda. The ADF, when they were expelled by the current NRM regime, went into the forests in Congo. You'll remember that even Joseph Kony at one time went to Central Africa through Congo. There is also evidence to suggest that there are Burundian fighters, rebels also in Congo, in those thick forests. So it is a combination of factors, local factors, commercial reasons by illegal miners, foreign hands which want to ensure that Congo remains the way it is, local politicians who benefit from a disorganized and disorderly and conflict-ridden Congo. All these factors conjoined create what is essentially a state of confusion which needs resolution by the entire continent of Africa. Unfortunately, Africa has not handled this matter well. In the early days, we had, not early to mean maybe 2-3 years ago, we had João Lourenço, the president of Angola, being the mediator, and SADC was then very much involved. They even had their forces. Then the Tshisekedi government brought in the East African forces and once again got dissatisfied. They are now back to the SADC forces. That tells you the kind of confusion that there is. I have myself several times suggested to some of the individuals that I know that are former heads of states and government to come in as the elder statesmen and women of Africa and have an all-Congolese conference during which all the combatants would be involved and they decide how to govern Congo and how to ensure that there is sustainable peace in Congo. Easier said than done, but necessary and urgent. Not easy. Because when your government is in Kinshasa and you are talking about a country which is the size of Western Europe, the infrastructure is poor, you cannot be in effective control of the country. So the president can say what he is saying in Kinshasa, but the people in Goma can ignore him. The people in Katanga can ignore him because the territory is so big, the people are so divided, the interests are so diverse that it will take a combined effort of all Africans of goodwill to give them the ability to deal with the problem as it is. As it is now, it is not possible. They just don't have the resources, they don't have the personnel, and they don't have the, in my view, even the ability to pacify Congo if it is left to them. It's one that is not desirable at all. It is an undesirable conflict, but it would be a conflict that would bring in quite a number of neighbors if such a conflict were to take place. And let people not be cheated. And President Kagame has been on record as saying that we don't want any conflict, but if it is brought on us, then we are going to defend ourselves to the last person. And that is exactly what is going to happen. The assumption that Rwanda is a little country that you can overwhelm in a few days is completely misguided. And I hope that the administration in Kinshasa remains conscious of this, that Africa does not need a conflict of that nature. As I've already indicated, there are over 120 armed groups in that area, all of which have different commands. So what you'd be bringing forth if there was a conflict of that kind would be chaos. It would be hell on earth. People would create an environment where they will just control little fiefdoms, where they mine and engage in illicit trade, which is completely undesirable. And remember that there are people within these territories who also would be acting at the behest of foreign powers. And I'm happy to hear that President Tshisekedi has now said that he is prepared to meet President Kagame. There was a time when he said he was not going to meet President Kagame, but wisdom is going to prevail. And I hope that in the next few weeks, there will be such a meeting between President Tshisekedi and President Paul Kagame, and that the tension would be eased, and that we would have rapprochement, and we would have a peaceful resolution to all the issues that are outstanding, if any, between Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. If I were to set out the agenda for President Tshisekedi and President Kagame, I would say, number one, let us discuss good neighborliness, let us discuss peace, and let us discuss the fate of the Congolese who are being said to be Rwandese. Recognize them as Congolese and give them their right to stay in peace in Congo. And once you've done that, let us then disarm all the combatants and let them be integrated in the forces of Congo either through in the military or through policing, and let us have a joint commission which will monitor the situation between Congo and Rwanda at the border. Once you do that, then I believe that the other issues can then be discussed and discussed effectively. It's a combination of both. You cannot ignore when a mosquito is biting an elephant, the elephant must be concerned both about the mosquito and the pack of lions that want to attack. So the internal fighters would be the mosquito, but they are very irritating and very dangerous, and they can ensure that you can't even operate. The pack of lions are the foreign powers, and they come under different guises. They come under European Union, Chinese, and all they want are the resources. They'll give you a pittance, and they think and make you believe that you are being taken care of. So I think there must be a multi-track approach. Enter into arrangements with those foreign powers that are mutually beneficial, so that if the Congolese want to engage with the European Union or the Americans or the Turks or the Russians, it must be on the basis of mutual benefit. And internally, you must also create an environment that is going to ensure that trade can be undertaken in a proper manner, so that you don't have conflicts which undermine the environment and poison the environment in which you want trade to be undertaken. So that can be done. These are things that can be done simultaneously, and I believe that a government that is convicted, a government that is clear in what its mandate is and what its goals are, can achieve all these. It has been done before, and I see no reason why it cannot be done in the Congolese situation, the complexities and the history notwithstanding.